Hare Krishna. We'd like to welcome all of you to this very beautiful experience of the Holy Dham Yatras. So we are doing an online Mansik Yatra of many holy places throughout the Adhik Maas. So we would like to welcome all of you to our Mansik Yatra experience. And today we will be sharing and discussing about one of the most holy places in the entire world. This is considered to be the South Badrika Ashram. So sometime back when I had spoken about the South Banaras, which was Kanchipuram, and today I'll be speaking on the South Badrika Ashram, which is the most amazing abode of Melukotte. So we will be speaking in elaborate details about this beautiful holy place, which was the one of the headquarters of the Sri Sampradaya for almost 12 years. That Sripad Ramanujacharya resided over here. So we'll be discussing a lot about the different temples of Melukotte, as well as we'll be discussing about the story of Sripad Ramanujacharya while he was in this area. So he spent, as I said, 12 years in this place, and therefore this place was one of those places which became the training grounds of the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya. So, just like Srila Prabhupada, he trained all his disciples into the whole process of bhakti in Vrindavan and Mayapur, where he really spent a valuable amount of time training his devotees into details of bhakti. Similarly, we find that Melukotte is a place where Sripad Ramanujacharya spent those 12 years. Actually, those 12 years were supposed to be a period where Sripad Ramanujacharya was hiding. We will actually see all the details of the story why he was hiding over there. But he utilized that time while he was hiding to actually create systems which were so powerful that when he came back to Sri Rangam, he implemented all those systems there and really took the standards to the next level. So Melukotte has been known by many different names in the course of time. And I'm just going to first share with you the several names that this place is known by. First of all, Melu, the word male in Tamil means top, and Kote means fort. So it's actually a village, or rather a small town that is on top of a hill. So if you actually go to Melkote, you are standing on a hilltop. And then there are temples which are further high on the hilltop. But overall, the place is on a peak, and there is actually a valley on which you can experience behind the Thirunarayan temple. So we will share all that. We will discuss all these places. So this place is known as Melukotte. It is also known as Narayan Adri. Adri means hill, and Narayan Adri means the hill of Lord Narayan. It is also known as Veda Adri. It means it is a hill of the Vedas. In fact, this is a place where Lord Dattatreya instructed his disciples on the Vedas, and therefore it is known as Vedadri. This is also a place known as Yadavadri. Yadava, the Krishna Balaram, they are known as the Yadus. They belong to the Yadava dynasty. And because Krishna Balaram, both of them came here to Melukotte in Dwapar Yuga, this place is also known as Yadavadri. This place is also known as Thirunarayanapura. Thirunarayanapura it simply means the abode of Lord Narayan. Thiru means Sri, and Narayana is the Supreme Lord, and Pura means the abode, and is also known as Bhuloka Vaikunta. This is known as the Vaikunta on the earth. So this is visiting Melkote is as good as visiting the spiritual world, Vaikunta planets. This place is also known as Vaikunta Vardhana Kshetra. That means this place increases the population of Vaikunta. What does it mean? It simply means that anybody who visits this place, they go to the spiritual world, Vaikunta. So it is almost like a transit place to go to the spiritual world, Vaikuntapura. And this place is also known as Jnana Mandapa. Jnana Mandapa means this is the abode of um, knowledge. This is the abode of divine knowledge. Tirupati is known as Pushpa Mandapa. It is a abode of flowers because Tirupati Balaji is constantly decorated with beautiful flowers. And Shirangam is known as Bhoga Mandapa. There, Ranganath Swami, is in the mood of enjoying, the mood of a king. And here, this particular place is known as Jnana Mandapa. This is a place of knowledge. This is a place of upgradation. As I said, this is also known as Dakshin Badrinath. This is also the southern Badrinath. It's considered to be, and this place is also known as Doda Guru Galahalli. This is in Kannada. Doda Guru. Doda means big. Guru means teacher. So it essentially means Gala Halli. Halli is it refers to a hill. So it says that this is also the abode of the great teacher Ramanuja. And that's why these are all the different names that are given to Melukotte. Melukotte is one of the most holy places. Not so much only because of these amazing temples that we're going to discuss, but also because of the presence of the saint Ramanuja, who spent a considerable amount of time establishing the standard of deity worship in Melukotte. So, Melukotte is also known for many, many amazing incidents that have happened there and still happen there. There is a particular incident, or rather, a particular festival which happens in Melukotte every year, which is known as the Vairamudi festival. So, it is explained that Lord Krishna, when he came to Melukotte, he presented a crown to Chelvanarayan. Chelvanarayan is the deity of this holy place. We're going to have darshan of Chelvanarayan very soon. Lord Krishna himself presented this beautiful crown to Chelvanarayan deities, and therefore there is one particular day in a year where this crown is brought out. So this crown is not kept openly; it is not used on a regular basis. It's used only once a year, and you can imagine if Krishna personally donated this crown, offered this crown to Chelvanarayan, how priceless this crown will be. There is no, you cannot estimate the cost of this crown. You cannot estimate how much this crown will be valued. It's inestimable. And this crown is stored in a very secret place in the Mandya district. And once a year, it is brought out in very high security. I mean, I'm sure you must have heard of these very very special jewels that are there across the world. Like in the British museums, we find Kohinoor. So like that, these special jewels. This is one of those very very special jewels, and this is known as Vaira Mudi. Mudi means crown, and Vaira means diamonds. So originally, this Vairamudi crown belonged to Lord Narayan in the spiritual world, in the Vaikuntha planets. And while the Supreme Lord was taking rest one day, one demon named Virochan. Virochan was the king of demons, and yes, he was the grandson of Prahlad Maharaj, the same Prahlad whom Lord Narsinga appeared to deliver. So his grandson became a demon named Virochan. So he stole this Vairamudi from the Supreme Lord. You can imagine, the grandfather is such an exalted devotee, and here is a grandson who has become a thief, who is stealing from the Supreme Lord himself. So when this robbery happened, this is the great robbery. This is one of the probably somebody can make a movie on this, the great robbery. And Virochan, when he robbed this jewel and ran away, Garuda was assigned by the Supreme Lord to go and bring back this jewel. So Virochan, he tried to escape, but Garuda caught up with him, and they had a massive fight. Garuda defeated the demon, and he took the jewel, the crown from the jewel from the demon, and he was flying back. So while he was flying back, it is explained that as Garuda was bringing it back, one diamond from the crown, it was known as a blue diamond. This blue diamond fell off from the height at which Garuda was flying, and this blue diamond, when it fell on the ground, it actually broke, and it, from being a crystal, it transformed into liquid, and it actually became a river, which is known as Mani Muttaru. And Mani means jewel, and Mani Muttaru means it's a river that manifested from a jewel. So it's a blue river that flows even today, and it flows in a place known as Tanjavur. This is a part of Tamil Nadu, and it's explained. So after the, so basically, Garuda somehow saved the Vairamudi. He brought it back. As he was flying back, it was midday, and Garuda was flying over Vrindavan. And as he was flying over Vrindavan, he saw below Lord Krishna was playing with all his friends. Krishna was playing with his friends. This was 5,000 years back, essentially. That's what it means. Krishna was playing with his friends, and as they were playing with this hot sun, Garuda thought this is a good time for me to do some seva for Krishna. So Garuda started flying above Krishna and giving him shade with a shadow. So imagine, Krishna is running around playing with his friends, and above Garuda is spreading his wings as wide as possible. He's giving Krishna shade under his wings. And Krishna played for a long period of time. Garuda enjoyed himself watching the games of Krishna. And then finally, he offered the crown, the Vairamudi, to Krishna. Why? Because originally the crown belonged to Lord Narayan, who is not different from Krishna. He said, anyway, I have seen the Supreme Lord, let me offer it here. And he offered the crown over here. And he kept the crown on the head of Lord Krishna. And it is explained that when Krishna came to Melukotte with Balaramji, much later, many years later, he offered that crown that Garuda had given him to uh, this deity of Chelvanarayan. And interestingly, this particular deity of the Lord was also worshipped by Lord Ram in Treta Yuga. So this is the probably one of the only deities in the whole of India which has been worshipped both by Ram and by Krishna. So it is a very special and a very unique deity, of the Supreme Lord. And it is explained that whenever this Vairamudi is brought out, a few days before the Vairamudi is brought out and the festival of Chelvanarayan happens, few days before there is a festival to commemorate Garuda, because Garuda was the one who was responsible for bringing the Vairamudi from the spiritual from Virochan's possession. So if you celebrate Garuda's festival first, and then after that there's festival of the Vairamudi that is celebrated. And while this festival of Vairamudi is celebrated, something amazing happens. The thing is that this diamond, this jewel, is so special and so powerful that nobody is allowed to look at this jewel first till it is put on the head of the Lord. So the pujari who actually puts this crown on the head of the Lord, he has to blindfold himself. He cannot see the crown himself with his own naked eyes before it is placed on the Lord's head, nor is anybody else allowed to see. So whoever is operating that the rituals at that point, all the seva, they blindfold themselves, and it is explained that the pujari with the blindfold on, he lifts the Vairamudi, first places it in front of Ramanujacharya's altar, and then he brings it and places it on the head of Chelvanarayan. Only after it is placed on the head of Chelvanarayan can his blindfold be taken off. The idea is that this jewel belongs to the Supreme Lord. Nobody should enjoy this jewel uh, before it is offered to the Lord. One person tried to enjoy, Virochan tried to enjoy the jewel and rob it from the Lord. And from that time onwards, the ritual has been that nobody, no human being is allowed to enjoy the jewel without it being on the head of the Lord. That's what this whole beautiful festival is. This so before we go ahead, let us please have darshan of Chelvanarayan. I would like to invite all of you all to please have darshan of Chelvanarayan. And while you're having darshan of Chelvanarayan, I would like to request you to please look at the crown that is on the head of Chelvanarayan, the Vairamudi. It's a most beautiful crown. And imagine this crown has been worn by Lord Krishna personally. This crown was from the spiritual world, the Vaikuntha planets, worn by Lord Narayan himself. And now it is on the divine head of Chelvanarayan here in the earthly abode. So please, while you're having darshan of Chelvanarayan and while you're having darshan of this particular crown, please remember this story that we just spoke and we narrated. Now we'll go ahead and speak about a few other places which are just so amazing and so special that commemorate the the greatness of Melukotte Dham. In Melukotte, there is one of the most amazing temples that you will ever see anywhere in the world, and this is the temple of Yoga Narsinga Dev. So Yoga Narsinga is on top of a hill, and you have to actually climb a huge mountain to reach the abode of Yoga Narsinga. And this particular form of Yoga Narsinga is very, very unique and a very special form. You will never find Narsingadev in such a peaceful posture. And Narsingadev is sitting in a yogic posture over here. It is explained that here Narsingadev comes after Hiranyakashipu has been killed, and after so his anger is abated, he's peaceful now, and then he comes over here to sit and just meditate. So it is explained, Prahlad Maharaj, he invites this form of Narsingadev to come and stay here. In fact, it is explained that after the Lord leaves back to the spiritual world, Prahlad, he is desperate to see that form of the Lord that he got to see once. So in that desperation, Prahlad comes to this particular place. So it's not only Ram and Krishna who's visited this place. It is also great people like Prahlad Maharaj, Garuda. So many of these exalted devotees have also visited this place. So Prahlad comes over here and he stays in a small cave on top of the mountain. Even if you go today to this particular place on Melukotte, you have to climb a huge mountain. So it's already, as I said, the place is already on top of a mountain. Melukotte means on top of a mountain, but this mountain is on top of another mountain. So you can imagine how high Narsingadev is sitting, and when you reach there on that height, it's just an amazing experience you can see the whole of Melukotte Dham literally from that height. And in addition to that, on top of that peak, just below the peak, there is a small cave that goes into the mountain, and it is explained that this cave opens exactly below the feet of Narsingadev. Narsingadev's feet is above the cave, and below the cave, below the feet of Narsingadev, is this cave where Prahlad sat and meditated for years together to bring Narsingadev into this material world again. So Prahlad actually sat under this cave and did intense tapasya. If you ever get a chance to go into this cave, nowadays they don't open this cave anymore, but many years back they used to open, and I have gone to this cave several times. You cannot walk into the cave. You cannot even um, bend down and go walk into the cave. You have to crawl. You have to be on your stomach, literally crawl into the cave. And when you crawl considerable distance into the cave, then it opens up into a massive place. Not too big, but at least it's good enough to stand inside. So it opens up into a small arena where you can stand, sit, and stay there. And inside that Prahlad stayed. That's known as Prahlad Gufa, and that's where the Prahlad meditated intensely for the appearance of Lord Narsingadev, and Narsingadev to assist Prahlad in his remembrance. He appeared in the form of this beautiful deity of Yoga Narsinga. I was fortunate enough, exactly at this time, 1 year back, I was in this temple of Yoga Narsinga, and I was actually, and we were very fortunate that day, hardly anyone was there. just six, seven of us, and we actually performed an entire abhishek of commemorating the beautiful, uh, form of Lord Narsingadev. When they perform abhishek of Narsingadev, without any of the jewelry and the clothes and all that, and when the water actually pours on Narsinghdev's body, especially the turmeric water, they apply turmeric all over the body of Narsingdev, and then they pour water and bathe him. It's a scene. It's something that you will never ever see in your life. It's something very very rare. So I am inviting all of you to please come and have darshan of this form of Narsingadev, which is so very rare and so very special, and offer your prayers. This is the form that is personally invoked by Prahlad Maharaj. You can imagine how merciful the Lord is and how powerful the Lord is. So let us please have darshan of Narsingadev at this point, and we can close our eyes and actually meditate on that experience of standing on top on top of a hill, which is already on top of a hill, and then experience this beautiful darshan of Lord Narsingadev. At the bottom of this hill, when you come down back to Melukotte, there is a lake. There is actually a pond. It is known as Kalyani Pushkarani. It is a very, very beautiful pond. The word Kalyani means auspicious. And this pond is large, it's a huge pond. And it is explained that um, all the water of Kalyani Pushkarani is specifically used for the worship of Narsingadev and Chalvanarayan. So, the worship of these two deities is by using the water of this particular pond, which is known as Kalyani Pushkarani. So, it is explained that there is a very beautiful explanation in a book which is known as Ishwara Samhita, and in that it is explained how this pond got formed, Kalyani Pushkarani, and it's an amazing story. It's explained that when Lord Varahadev appeared, and Varahadev lifted the earth, and so to lift the earth, he had to actually, because Hiranyaksha had dug the earth so badly, he was into gold mining. He was, Hiranya means gold, right? And he was so intensely behind gold, he dug through and through the earth, and the earth lost its balance and it fell off, and it fell into what is known as the Garbhodaka Ocean, Garbhodaka Sagar, and it fell to the bottom of the Garbhodaka Ocean. And to bring out something that is in a muck, the Lord took this very special form which is known as Varahadev. And naturally, when he goes into the muck and brings out the earth and restores it into its orbit, now he is dirty, right? He's quite, his body is filled with. And if you have ever seen boars or pigs, Varaha, and if you see them coming out from something filthy, one thing they always do is they shake their body intensely to remove all that water. Even if you look at dogs or cats or any of these animals. And Varahadev, when he came out from that, filthy place, he came out and shook his body. Now, if a pig shakes its body, you will nowhere want to be anywhere near that pig, because who wants these droplets from the body of a pig to fall on us? But when Varahadev shakes his body, the drops that fall from Varahadev's body are extremely potent. When the drops fell on the sages who were performing tapasya, as soon as one drop fell on any sage, they would actually experience ecstatic symptoms. All the Vikar, all the eight symptoms of ecstasy manifest in these people. And some drops of Varahadev's body fell on this place in Melukotte. And when the drops fell on this place, they created a pond which is known as Kalyani, auspicious. So, as I said, water from the body of a normal pig is considered inauspicious and is considered contamination. But water from the body of Varahadev is considered auspicious. And therefore, this place is known as Kalyani Kund. And therefore, it is explained that Padma Puran, Matsya Puran, Garuda Puran, so many of these, especially Matsya Puran and Padma Puran, explains this about this place. There's another explanation. It says that Garuda who was Lord Vishnu's bird carrier, he brought a particular type of clay, which is only available in Shvetadweep. Shvetadweep is the spiritual world, and he Garudji, he bought a huge chunk of this clay and threw it into this pond. Sri Vaishnavas, even till date, they when they wear tilak on their forehead, if you have seen Sri Vaishnav tilak, is white in color. There's white tilak that they wear, beautiful white tilak. Where do they get the white clay from? They get it from this place. So it is said Garuda, he was the one who brought this from Shvetadweep, from the spiritual world, and he threw it over here. And the Shiva Vaishnavas used the water, the mud, which is at the bottom of this pond, to apply tilak on their heads. So, like this, Melukotte is a place of such amazing and such divine pastimes. And the most important temple in Melukotte. So, we just saw the beautiful temple of Narsinga on top of this hill. And we heard a little bit about the temple of Chelva Narayan when we were discussing the context of the Vairamudi. Now we're going to go into a little more detail about how the Chelvanarayan deity came about. So it is explained that this is in Satya Yuga, Lord Brahma was performing a penance. You remember we were discussing about the most beautiful abode of Kanchipuram. That also begins with Brahma performing a tapasya, sacrifice. So here also in Melukotte we find that Lord Brahma performs a particular type of sacrifice. And as Brahma performs sacrifice, the Lord appears in front of Lord Brahma, being pleased with him. And Brahma, he asks the Lord to appear in his own divine form for him to worship. And it is explained that the Lord manifests himself in a very, very beautiful form of who is known as Thirunarayan. So the same form, same Lord is known as Thirunarayan, is also known as Chelvanarayan. Thirunarayan, the word Thiru means Shri or divine, and Narayan is the Supreme Lord. And the word Chelva means dear, dear or oh beautiful one, like that. It's a very loving and a very informal way of calling someone like a small child, basically. Chelva, basically. So he's known as Chelva Narayan. So this deity is almost 6 feet tall, and it is explained that this deity has he's giving blessings with one hand, he's holding a disc in one hand, he's holding a club in one hand, and he's holding a conch shell in the other hand. This is the form of the Lord that was. This is the particular form of Lord Narayan that appeared to Brahma and the demigods before he incarnated as Lord Ram. So in the Ramayana, if you actually study, when Brahma and the gods they pray to the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Lord appears seated on Garuda, and it is explained that he appears with four-handed form, and he appears with three hands holding Shanka, Chakra, and and Gada. It's explained that he is holding a club, a disc, and a conch in three hands, and the fourth hand usually he holds a lotus flower. But when he appeared to Brahma and all these gods, he was not holding a lotus flower. Instead, his fourth hand was in a Ashirvad, in a Abhay Mudra. Why? Because the Lord wanted to tell Brahma and the gods that the time for creation is over. The lotus represents creation. Brahma was born on this lotus, right? So lotus represents creation. And the Lord is telling Brahma and all the gods, the time for creation is over now. No more creation, now destruction. That's why he's holding the conch, Shanka, and Shanka, Chakra, and Gada, and not the lotus. So here, this Thirunarayan is in the exact same form as the one that appeared to Lord Brahma, heralding the appearance of Lord Ram. And therefore it is a very unique and a very interesting form of the Lord. The Lord is also known as Chelva Narayan. He is also known as Chelva Pillai. Pillai means child. Chelva Pillai means sweet child, and he is also known as Sampat Kumara, and he is also known as Ramapriya. Ramapriya means the one who is dear to Lord Ram. So he has so many names, and as I said, Lord Ram personally worshipped this particular deity of the Lord with great love. Um, and so when Brahma intensely offered tapasya, Brahma was given this particular deity, and Brahma offered this deity to his sons, the four Kumaras, and then it went on down the line. Um, Eventually when it came down in line to so many personalities, finally, Lord Vishnu, he asked Anantashesh to take the form of a mountain and wait for him. Anantashesh took the form of this massive mountain, which is known as Melukotte. So Melukotte, the mountain itself, is non-different from Anantashesh's body. So just by sleeping on that mountain, touching that mountain, offering obeisances to the mountain, you're actually on the body of Anantashesh. So the entire Melukotte town is considered to be Anantashesh's beautiful divine body. And it's explained that this deity was eventually came down to Lord Ram in a parampara and a disciplic succession. And this deity was presented by Lord Ram to his son Kusha. And Kusha gave his this deity in dowry to his daughter, who was married to a prince of the Yadu dynasty. And that is how the deity from Ram it came to Yadu dynasty. And then Krishna, when he appeared in the Yadu dynasty, he worshipped this particular deity. And it is explained that when the crown was stolen from the spiritual world, then eventually Garuda offered the crown to Krishna. And Krishna, what he did with that crown, he took that crown and offered it to this deity of Chelvanarayan, of Ramapriya. He offered it to this beautiful deity of the Lord, and the crown just fit perfectly on the Lord. So eventually, Balramji, he had gone on a long pilgrimage. He went all over the world, on to all the holy places. And when he came, so Balram was the one who came to this place known as Melukotte. So when Balram came to Melukotte and he saw this beautiful deity of Thirunarayan in Melukotte, he said, "This deity looks exactly like our deity, what we have in here in Dwarka." And interestingly, he came back and spoke to Krishna, and he said, "This deity that is standing on the altar in Melukotte, Thirunarayan, is exactly identical to the small deity that we have in Dwaraka, which is known as, which they used to call as Ramapriya or Chelva Pillai, like that." So the deity that was in Melkote was a huge deity known as Thirunarayan, which we already had darshan of. But the deity that was in Dwaraka, which was a smaller version of it, which came down from Lord Brahma, is and was worshipped eventually by Lord Krishna, is known as Ramapriya. And when Balramji told Krishna this, then it is explained that Krishna and Balram, they decided that they will bring Ramapriya to Melkote and compare the two deities. So Krishna actually brought Ramapriya to Melkote, and it's explained that when they saw the two deities were so exactly similar, Krishna decided to leave Ramapriya along with the bigger deity, Chelvanarayan. And therefore, we'll find in that altar two deities. One is the main deity that you see straight in front of you. We will have darshan of the main deity again just now. But along with that, on the right hand side of the main deity, you'll find a beautiful, that means on our left hand side, you'll find an extremely beautiful deity known as Ramapriya. And Ramapriya is not different from Chelvanarayan. They're both exactly same. One is the big deity and one is a small deity. And Ramapriya was worshipped by Krishna in Dwaraka. And Krishna was the one who handed over Ramapriya over here. So as I said, this particular form of the Lord is worshipped both by Krishna and by Lord Ram, and therefore this deity is very very special and very very unique. Let us now have darshan of both Chelvanarayan, Thirunarayan, as well as Ramapriya, who is also known as Chelva Pillai. So Right now, we will first see the deity of Thirunarayan. Please have darshan of Thirunarayan. And then now we're going to see the beautiful deity of Ramapriya, which is personally handed over by Krishna to Melukotte. Let us please have darshan of Ramapriya. To help us understand the whole context of this deity and how this deity actually came up and all that, I'm going to take you all into a very beautiful and a very historic episode in into Ramanujacharya's life that will really bring us a lot more of clarity on how these deities uh, got their place over here and they also are worshipped over here. Before I go into those two, the whole incident, this is going to be a very elaborate storyline. Before that, I would like to share with you all two more places that are a part of Melkote itself. So Melkote is a very small town. You can walk the length and breadth of Melukotte in about 15 to 20 minutes. Practically, it's one of those towns in India that is still not affected by material life, that is still not affected by any kind of material civilization. You will not find a single big shop in Melukotte. You will not find any malls. You will not find any kind of theaters, nothing, no nonsense in that town at all. In fact, even electricity is kind of flickering. But more than that, the natural beauty of Melukotte is as it is. I must tell you all, if anybody ever visits India, you have to visit Melukotte. It will change your perspective of how you see Krishna consciousness and how you see a Krishna conscious village or a town. It's a very beautiful village and it's a very beautiful place overall. So in Melukotte, Thirunarayan's temple is there. So right in the entrance of Melukotte, you'll find on the right hand side, on top, you'll find the temple of Narsinga Dev, which we saw details about. And then as you go further on the road, there are only two roads in Melukotte, this road and this road. There are only two parallel roads. On the first road, on the left, you'll find Narsinga Dev's temple. And as you go ahead, you'll find Charunarayan's temple. And then as you go ahead, after Charunarayan's temple, towards the end of Melukotte town, you'll find two places. And these are amazing places and very special places. The first place is known as Yati Shila. Yati Shila is a place where Ramanujacharya came and he came disguised as a um, regular person. In fact, he came in white clothes and instead of the saffron clothes of a sannyasi. And it is a story of how he why he came here in white clothes. It's a very heart touching and a very dangerous story actually, but it's something that every devotee should know. It's about sacrifice, it's about cruelty, and it's about greatness of the disciples of Ramanuja. So Ramanuja came over here in Melkote in white clothes, and it is explained that uh, this is a small temple. There's a small, place known as Yatishila. So this is the place where Lord Dattatreya, as we know, Dattatreya is one of those people who taught his disciples the Vedas in this place. Therefore, this place is known as Vedagiri. But this is a place also where Dattatreya came and awarded Ramanacharya the saffron clothes again. Therefore, this particular place is known as Yati Shila. Yati means sannyasi, Yati Shila means the stone or the place where Dattatreya gave the saffron dress to Ramanujacharya. So, so that's the one place that you must visit, and we will we will offer our respects to this particular place where Ramanujacharya took on his saffron clothes. And there's also another amazing place which is right at the end of Melukotte town. It's like jutting into the valley, literally. It's on top of a hill. And if you actually go right on top of a hill, you'll find this one place which is known as Dhanush Koti. So, what is the meaning of Dhanush Koti? The word Dhanush means arrow. And Dhanush Koti, it means this is the place where Lord Ram shot an arrow on the ground. And when he shot the arrow on the ground, from that place where he shot the arrow, the Ganga appears. And Ram used the water of the Ganga to offer his oblations and his worship. The most amazing thing, there are two most amazing things about Dhanush Koti, about this particular place. The most amazing thing is this is on top of a mountain. And the second most amazing thing is the whole area is filled with hard rocks. And how in the world can any kind of water appear from hard rocks? And if you go there, you'll find throughout the year there is water there. Throughout the year, water is seeping out from that one place where Ram shot the arrow. And in this in Dhanushkoti, you will actually find this beautiful uh, small temple where Sita Ram Lakshman's deities are there. You can actually offer your respects to this beautiful place. So let us now offer our respects to Dhanushkoti, this amazing place where Sita Ram Lakshman appeared, and this amazing place where Ram brought out Ganga from hard rocks. Now, I'm going to share with you all a very interesting and a very powerful story of the life of Ramanuja. And this is a story that will redefine your understanding of what a Vaishnava can do, what a devotee can do, and what he cannot. There was a point in time where Ramanuja became a extremely famous and an extremely popular saint in India. Length and breadth of India knew about Ramanuja. There was one particular king of the Chola dynasty whose name was Kolatunga. So Kolatunga ruled the southern India at that point. Somehow, he had an obsession, and he had some kind of a uh, weird obsession of converting everyone into becoming a Shaivite. Now, what you do and what kind of a person you are, what is a belief system, is a personal choice. But somehow this king was so adamant, and he was forcibly converting everybody to become a Shaivite. And those who didn't convert, he would kill them. It's very, very unfortunate. But this man was very, very cruel. And at one point, he really began to think. He got an idea how to convert maximum people who are Vaishnavas into Shaivism. At that point, he thought, if I convert the leader, then everybody will automatically become converted. So therefore, he called Ramanuja because Ramanuja was the head of the Shiva Vaishnava Sampradaya, where one of the heads of the Vaishnava Sampradayas in India. And he thought if Ramanuja gets converted into becoming a Shaivite, naturally everybody else will have to follow. So, therefore, with that in mind, Ramanuja was invited by the king, Kolatunga, to his court. Now, Ramanuja was not an ordinary person. Ramanuja had done so much in the past. It is explained that Ramanuja, in fact, this king Kolatunga, his sister was haunted by a ghost, very intense, ghost that haunted the sister. And somebody told this king that Ramanuja can help. And the king had invited Ramanuja at that point. Ramanuja came and kept his feet on the head of this girl. As soon as Ramanuja kept his feet on the girl just became completely rid of the ghost, completely all right. And that's when the king actually understood the power of Ramanuja. But somehow, many years later, people don't are not grateful. Gratitude is not it's not something that people can hold in their minds and hearts for a long period of time. Gratitude is short lived, but hatred is long lived. So so this man, this king Kolotunga, completely forgot his gratitude for Ramanuja, and he invited Ramanuja for a friendly debate with his people. So now, when Ramanuja was invited for this friendly debate, at some point, Kuresh, who was one of the disciples of Ramanuja, he understood that this is not the purpose. So he said, this is very dangerous if Ramanuja goes for this debate. Because Kuresh understood this king had evil intentions. So Kuresh convinced Ramanuja not to go himself. But Quraysh told him, I will go instead of your place. And somehow Quraysh, he knew that the king had personally not seen Ramanuja at that time. So even when Ramanuja had gone many years later, the king was at that time small, but and also the king had not seen Ramanuja personally with his own eyes. So he would not know who is Ramanuja. So Quraysh said, we will exchange clothes. I will wear your clothes of a sannyasi, and you wear my clothes of a grahastha, and you leave from the place where they were. So he said, it is very, very dangerous for you to get caught by the king, because you are the future of the sampradaya. So Ramanuja left Srirangam and he ran away through the forest. And Kuresh, he wore the dress of a sannyasi, and along with him went Mahapurna. Mahapurna was an exalted Sri Vaishnav, the direct disciple of Yamunacharya, one of the gurus of Ramanujacharya. Ramanujacharya had many gurus, of which one of the gurus was Mahapurna. So Mahapurna and Kuresh went all the way to the palace of Kolatunga, and Kolatunga, first of all, he greeted Ramanujacharya. So he thought Kuresh was Ramanuja actually. He greeted him with great respect, and he offered him a seat. And then Kuresh, so the king just asked Kuresh uh, a very simple question. He said, according to you, what is the goal of life? And Kuresh, with all his heart, if somebody asks a Vaishnav, what is the goal of life? What does a Vaishnav say? With all his heart, Kuresh said, the goal of the life of a Vaishnav is to worship Lord Vishnu and in the mood of a humble servant. Now that blew up Kolatunga. He said, how dare you say that? How dare you say the goal of life is to worship Lord Vishnu? The goal of life is to worship Lord Shiva. Kuresh just laughed. And he gave a very clear Shastric answer how that's not true, what he says, what Kolatunga says. And then Kolatunga brings out all his scholars, and there ensues a huge debate between the scholars of Kolatunga and Quraysh. And Quraysh thoroughly defeats all the scholars. And finally, the king gets annoyed, and he wants to use his power. He understands that knowledge-wise, Quraysh is superior, so he just uses his powers, and he says, "I I demand that you just accept that Vishnu is Shiva is superior to Vishnu." And Quraysh, he just laughed, and he said, "What to speak of Vishnu? Even Drona is bigger than Shiva." No one is being Drona is bigger than Shiva. Actually, Drona, so Shiva is also a measuring weight. The name Shiva is also a measuring weight in Sanskrit. And the word Drona is also a weight. Just like we have 1 kilo, 2 kilo, like that. In the past, they used to have Shiva, Drona, like that, different measurements. And in the measuring scale, Drona, the word Drona, that the weight it represents, was higher than the weight represented by Shiva. So just as a pun, this Quraysh just threw this in front of Kolatunga. He said, even Drona is bigger than Shiva. And this Kolatunga just couldn't handle it. He said, kill these people. And of course, he realized that he can't kill Ramanuja because Ramanuja had saved his sister. So he said, I am letting you go because you had saved my sister in the past. But because you offended Shiva, therefore I am giving you a punishment which is just. He said, blind these two people. So the soldiers of the king took away Quraysh and Mahapurna, and they blinded both the Vaishnavas. Imagine such torture. They right and while they were awake, while they were conscious, their eyes were plucked out. No matter what happened, Quraysh and Mahapurna didn't budge. And not just that, Quraysh actually felt pity for the people who were torturing him. Quraysh blessed. He actually prayed to the Lord. He said, my dear Lord, please forgive these people who have blinded me. I have no anger towards them. I have no grudge towards them. And I have no regret for what I did. Whatever I did it for the service of my spiritual master. So now when these people were torturing Quraysh, torturing Mahapurna, when they heard what Quraysh is saying, they really felt bad. Such a nice person, they tortured so badly. So they actually paid one beggar money to take Quraysh and Mahapurna wherever they want to go. And those people left. And in the meanwhile, Mahapurna was an elderly person. He was the direct disciple of Yamunacharya. He was a guru of Ramanujacharya. But he was very weak. He told Quraysh, I'm sorry, I can't continue this journey anymore. I don't think I'll survive. he lied down on the lap of Kuresh. And while chanting the name of Lord Narayan and while remembering his own guru, Yamunacharya, he told Kuresh that I am going back to my spiritual master. And he died. When Mahapurna died, Kuresh returned back. And when Ramanuja saw Kuresh in this particular way, so much pain Ramanuja went through. And it's such a great disciple that, I mean, imagine, what can a disciple do for his guru usually? The disciples today can't do much for the guru. And even if they want to, there's not much there is really that a disciple in today's context can do. And what to speak of the desire? Most people don't even have the desire to do anything. But even if they want to do, there's limited that you can do. But look at what Quraysh has done for his spiritual master. He actually gave up his eyes for the sake of his guru. Ramanuja, when he heard how he gave up his eyes for the sake of his spiritual master, he Ramanuja was so much in pain, and from his heart, Ramanuja actually, felt so bad for what Kolatunga had done to his disciples. And Kolatunga, unfortunately, just after a few days after this incident, he got a very bad form of a disease, and he died a very horrible death for what he has done for these people. And when Ramanuja got the news that Kolatunga is dead, Ramanuja actually shouted out, Kalyani, Kalyani. He was actually happy that somebody died. Now, can you imagine how can a great guru and a great Vaishnava be happy at somebody else's death? So the Bhagavatam explains that when a snake and a scorpion dies, a Vaishnava celebrates because snakes and scorpions are envious people. Envious people cannot be converted. Envious people cannot be transformed into something, into giving up their envy, giving up their bad nature. And therefore, Ramanuja actually celebrated, when he heard this news. And it's explained that Ramanuja remained in Melukotte for 11 years. And of course, in the duration of the 11 years, a lot of things happened. One of the things that happened during their when they were traveling from Shirangam to Melkote was a very beautiful and a very, very memorable story that happened. So it is explained that when Ramanuja was traveling through the kingdom of different provinces in South India, it is explained that he passed through one particular place, and as he was passing through this one particular place, he came across a king who was known as Vittaladev, and Vittaladev was a follower of Jain religion. And for several years, his daughter had been possessed by a ghost. And despite so much efforts by the Jain priests to cast out the evil spirit, nothing was happening. And then this king came to know about this group of Vaishnavas that were passing by. He invited them to his palace, and he confided to Ramanuja about what his situation was. And King Vittaldev, when he confided to Ramanuja, by his divine potency, just by looking at the girl, he was able to drive away the ghost. And Vittaldev was so amazed by the purity and the power of Yatiraj Ramanuja, and he actually wanted to learn about Vaishnavism from Ramanuja. So he sat under the feet of Ramanuja and he heard about the Vaishnava Sampradaya. So while he heard about the Vaishnava Sampradaya, the Jain gurus, who were all Vittal Dev's gurus, teachers, they became very upset with their disciple that he has decided to hear from a Vaishnava sannyasi. And the Jain gurus, they came and they began to debate with Ramanuja about Vaishnavism and Jainism. And the debate was so powerful that there were at one point 12,000 Jains, 12,000 Jains, and one Ramanuja. Imagine, this 12,000 Jains was sitting in a huge arena, and Ramanuja was sitting in one place. And Ramanuja asked a parda or a sheet to be dropped in front of him. So when they dropped the sheet in front of Ramanuja, so now the Jains were there, 12,000 of them, and Ramanuja was behind the sheet, and the Jains couldn't see Ramanuja, but they could hear him. Ramanuja dropped this sheet and he manifested on his head the Shesh Nag form, his original form in the spiritual world. And the Shesh Nag form of Ramanuja, the Shesh Nag, the Ananta Shesh, has thousands of mouths. And from thousands of mouths, Ramanuja was debating against these 12,000 Jain, sadhus. And every argument that these Jain sadhus were giving, Ramanuja was defeating all those arguments to shreds, literally. And it is explained that when Vittal Dev, this king, saw this 12,000 Jains being defeated by one single sadhu, Ramanuja, Vittal Dev surrendered to Ramanuja and became his disciple. And Vittal Dev, he actually became, you know, uh, a very, very influential and a very, very powerful disciple of Ramanuja. And he actually did so much for the Shiva Vaishnava Sampradaya after this. So there's a king, who was known as Vittal Dev. He eventually be known as um, Vishnu Vardhan, who became a disciple of Ramanuja, and he was the one who built so many of the temples for on behalf of Ramanuja. In fact, this place where this debate took place is a place known as Thondanur. It's a few kilometers away from Melukotte. It's on the way from Srirangam to Melukotte. It's just on the entrance of Melukotte, I would say. And in that place where Ramanuja performed this, great debate is a lake which is known as Thondanur Lake, massive, beautiful lake. And it's explained that all those 12,000 Jains, they got converted into Vaishnavism and they became staunch disciples of Ramanuja. And Ramanuja himself, initiated the king Vittal Dev into the Vaishnava Sampradaya. And the king became known as Vishnu Vardhan. Uh, the place where this particular took place is a very beautiful temple of Narsinga. I would like to first of all give you all darshan of Ramanuja's form as the Ananta Shesh, the form that actually debated these 12,000 Jain gurus. Please have darshan of that form of Ramanuja, which is his original Ananta Shesh form, which is Lakshman's form. So let us first take darshan of Ramanuja and offer our respects to the abode of knowledge, Ananta Shesh Ramanuja. And I will also like to show you the Thondanur Lake. It's a beautiful place. If you do visit this place, you have to spend at least 1 hour sitting on the banks of this lake. It will really calm your mind. So I'm going to show you a very beautiful picture of Thondanur Lake that will give you a very nice, good idea of the magnitude of this lake and also the purity of this lake. Please have darshan of the holy Thondanur Lake. So from this particular place, when Ramanuja performs this pastime of delivering the daughter of Vishnuvardhan, as well as converting all these Jain sadhus into Vaishnav Sampradaya, we will go back into the abode of Ramanuja. So Ramanuja actually walked from that place, Thondanur, all the way towards Melukotte Dham. And as he was walking towards Melukotte, on the way he saw a Tulsi grove, a huge Tulsi grove. And from the middle of the Tulsi grove, he saw an ant hill. And from the ant hill, he saw something sticking out. Ramanuja immediately stopped and he told his people, dig this place. And when they dug this place, they were amazed to find the most beautiful deity of Thirunarayan inside the ground. Now, if you're wondering, how did the deity of Thirunarayan reach underground? Let me explain that this was the Mughal period. And because it was the Mughal period, it actually was also a time of lot of unrest. And it is explained that there was an attack on Melkote and in the nearby areas of Melkote. And to protect the deity of Thirunarayan and Chelvanarayan, they decided to bury the deities into the ground. Somehow they managed to bury Thirunarayan. Thirunarayan is a big deity of the Lord, which we saw some time back. They buried Thirunarayan under the ground in a very sacred place. But before they could bury the small deity of Chelvanarayan, of Ramapriya also, the Mughals attacked. The Mughals took away the small deity of Ramapriya along with them, and the small deity was lost. So Ramanuja, when he found this big deity of Thirunarayan, he actually got a beautiful temple. This temple of Chelvanarayan was resurrected, recreated by the help of Vishnuvardhan by Ramanuja, and the Thirunarayan was installed on the altar. And then Ramanuja was determined to go and find Ramapriya, because Ramapriya and Chelvanarayan are non-separable. Imagine, na, Ramapriya and Chelvanarayan are the union of Dwapar and Treta Yugas. Uh, Lord Ram personally worshipped Thirunarayan, and Krishna worshipped the Ramapriya. So both of them together actually bring in the best of the two yugas. Ramanacharya felt it's only right if the small deity also is found. So he started finding out who took away this small deity. And then, going back and studying the whole attack, he realized there's one Muslim king that has taken away this particular deity of the Lord. So Ramanacharya went all the way from Melukotte to Delhi to go and find this one deity which was missing. So Ramanuja went all the way from Melukotte to Delhi on foot. Obviously, there were no flights, there were no trains, there were no other mode of communication at that time. And when he reached Delhi, he walked into this palace of this Nawab. Now you can imagine a powerful king that's sitting on the Delhi Sultanate. And here is a saint, Ramanuja, fearlessly walking into the palace of this king. So Ramanacharya went and straight away asked the Nawab. He said, "My deity is here. I've come to take." So the king was impressed by the fearlessness of Ramanuja and also the straightforwardness of Ramanuja. He said, "See, I have hundreds of deities in my treasury. Whichever is yours, pick it up." Now Ramanuja went and he searched the whole treasury. He saw so many deities there of Lord Vishnu, but he couldn't find his particular Chelvanarayan. He couldn't find Ramapriya. So he came back and he said, "I'm sorry, inside there's no Ramapriya." So then the king realized this is a big problem. You know why? Because the daughter of this king, whose name is Bibi Nachiyar, she fell in love with this particular deity and she used to play with this deity all day long. This was a favorite toy of this girl named Bibi Nachiyar. Young girl, not really very small girl, but a young girl. She loved this deity and she had some kind of a magical connection with the deity of the Lord. And Bibi Nachiyar, she was so fond, she was not ready to let go. The king had already promised, but now this girl was not ready to let go. The king had to come up with some idea to somehow or the other convince Ramanuja not to take it. So he came up with a very brilliant idea. He said, "See, if this deity belongs to you, call it. If the deity comes to you, you take it." Now, the king knew the deities won't walk like that, right? I mean, which deity ever walks like that? The king was convinced this is just a stone, this is just a metal piece, and this deity is not going to do anything. And Ramanacharya agreed. He sat down and he began to sing very sweetly, and he began to call his deity with a lot of love. And he said, "Chelva Pillai, come to me." Chelva Pillai is, darling, come to me. And when Ramanuja said with such sweetness, "Chelva Pillai, come to me," the deity jumped off from the lap of this girl and started running, jumped on Ramanuja and hugged him. When the king saw this, he was blown away. He couldn't believe that something like that can actually happen. Ramanacharya hugged the deity and he walked away with the deity. And this girl now was going mad, frantic. She couldn't live without the deity. And the king, he just couldn't contain his daughter. But he had made a promise to Ramanuja, so he didn't stop him. So Ramanacharya walked away all the way straight to Melukotte. And this girl, along with a group of people, she started following Ramanuja. And there was one particular boy whose name was Kuber. Kuber also was a Muslim boy, but he was in great love with this girl, Bibi Nachiyar. He wanted to marry her. When he saw that this girl is running behind Ramanuja trying to find the deity back, he also went along with her with a group of people. And this girl's desperation to find this deity was so intense that when people had to take a break in the night, this girl couldn't stop. She just ran constantly all night long. And this boy Kuber also ran along with her loyally. When they reached the outskirts of Melukotte, this girl started begging everyone, please, I want to have darshan of Ramapriya. At least once I want to have darshan. And because she was a Muslim, the local people were not allowing her to enter the temple. And Ramanuja, at that point, he happened to see the desperation of this girl. He told his people, let her in. No problem. Let her go in. And Biminachia, a Muslim girl, stayed inside the altar, inside the temple of Ramapriya, worshipping Ramapriya, serving Ramapriya, feeding Ramapriya, really taking intense care of Ramapriya for some time. On one particular day, she went into the altar of Ramapriya and no one ever found her again. She actually merged into the deity of Ramapriya. She had actually attained, mukti, liberation. She had actually merged into the deity of the Lord. And Ramanuja, when he heard of this, he actually created a small deity of Bivinachiyar, a golden murti of Bivinachiyar, which is placed at the feet of Ramapriya. Even today, if you go to Melukotte, if you go to this temple of Thirunarayan, at the feet of Thirunarayan, you will find the small deity of Bivinachiyar. I'm going to try my best to show you a picture of Bivinachiyar's deity at the lotus feet of the Lord. And it is explained that whatever offering is done to the Lord, it is done through Bivinachiyar. That means the pujaris give it to Bivinachiyar to offer it to the Lord. You can imagine what kind of great fortune it is for a Muslim girl who traditionally doesn't believe in these things. But look at the faith, look at the devotion, look at her desperation to connect with the Lord, that she actually attained liberation, merging into the body of the Lord. This boy Kuvera, when he heard that this girl is gone, he just didn't know what to do now. So he had no purpose in life. So he was told, so he couldn't stay in Melukotte because he was too much, in separation from this girl. So he was told to go to Srirangam and stay there. He stayed in Srirangam for quite some time. Though he was not allowed to enter the altar, the temple. So when Ranganath saw this person's desperation, he said, I want to give you darshan. And he said, you go to Jagannath Puri. And in Jagannath Puri, I'll give you darshan. So this man, Kuvera, went all the way from Srirangam to Jagannath Puri and he had darshan of Lord Jagannath. And while having darshan of Lord Jagannath, he actually perfected his life. It is explained that these people really show us what devotion is and how devotion is much beyond all these externals of birth, caste, creed, religion. It's beyond all this. Devotion to the Lord is much deeper than what a human mind can perceive. So, Melkote is an abode of devotion. Melukotte is an abode of knowledge. Melukotte is an abode of gratitude. Melukotte is an abode of such amazing, beautiful pastimes of the Lord. So, with this, we will conclude. Before we conclude, we'd like to give you a last darshan of Thirunarayan. And hopefully, at the feet of Thirunarayan, you will also be able to see this beautiful form of Devi Nachiyar and Ramapriya also. So, let us have darshan of these beautiful deities before we end today's session on Melukotte Dham. And I hope and pray that Melukotte Dham has inspired you all so much as it has inspired me. It is one of my favorite places. Whenever in the world I ever think of going to a holy place, and if I just want to be very strongly connected to the Lord, Melukotte is the place that I really think of. And I would highly recommend all of you to please visit Melukotte physically whenever possible. But for now, let us all enjoy this Mansik Parikrama and meditate on whatever we have heard so far. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Melukotte Dham ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
RG Media YouTube channel. Like, share, subscribe.